Hopefully you can see everything here just now. My slides are up on the screen. Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me along to the session today. My name is Emma Dobinson and I am Customer Success Executive here at Everway, and I'm the Account Manager for Renfrewshire Council when it comes to all things Read and Write. And today we're going to be doing a session on how to support every learner with Read and Write for iPad. Obviously there's going to be lots of tools within Read and Write that you'll see are going to support specific additional support needs within the classroom, but something we do say about Read and Write here at Everway is that it's necessary for some but useful for all. So we're going to go through that today. You'll get a copy of these slides, but my contact details are within the slide deck. If you do have any questions or need any other support following the session, then please feel free to drop me an email and I'll be happy to help. So the agenda for the session today, I'll do a very short overview of Everway and our Read and Write software, and then I'm going to do a bit of an exploration on how the Read and Write app and keyboard for iOS can support every learner in your classroom. Then I'm going to signpost you to some resources to support implementation within the classroom, and then there'll be time at the end for some questions and answers as well. So if you're new to who we are at Everway, we're here to help everyone understand and be understood. That is our mission. That is why our Read and Write software has been created. Ultimately, what we want to do is to give every learner the opportunity to thrive within the classroom by levelling the playing field and breaking down those barriers to learning. And students can achieve this through the use of our inclusive tools that are built right into Read and Write. We do work across multiple different platforms, but today we are going to be focusing exclusively on iPad. If anyone has used Read and Write on other platforms before, you'll know that on places like Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge and Windows Desktop, it does come in the form of a toolbar. For iPad, it is a little bit different. It is still a complete literacy support tool, but it is made up of a dedicated writing app, but also a specialist literacy keyboard, a Read and Write keyboard. That means even if you're not within our dedicated app, your students are still going to get that inclusive literacy support no matter where they go in the device, including having tools like text-to-speech on hand, dictionaries, and writing tools to break down barriers when it comes to writing input. So we'll cover that on our session. Important to know too, we do also work on iOS mobile. So if your students are accessing this at home, there is an iOS mobile version as well. As we covered there, we're leading a session on every platform really that we work on. We've got a Google Chrome session upcoming soon. I'll check the date of that before we finish our session. There was a recording of our Read and Write for Windows session that I believe just took place last week. All the days end up blending together at this time of the year, don't they? And tonight we're going to look at iOS. And importantly, your students can get access to Read and Write at home for free using their Renfrewshire credentials. So we can talk a wee bit more about that later on. But it means that the support doesn't have to stop where the school day ends. When your children go home from school and they've got any homework tasks or studying to complete, they can access Read and Write on their home device, but using their Renfrewshire account. So the best way to explore Read and Write is to get hands-on with it. So it's up to you. If you've got a device in front of you just now, you can feel free to load up the app, give it a try as I'm doing it, or you can watch me just now and you can have a play about with it later on when you've got the recording. But the very first step, and don't worry if anyone's making physical notes, don't worry about writing this down because you will get a copy of the slides which has all the instructions. But the very first step in getting Read and Write ready to go for your learners and for you in the classroom is to enable the Read and Write for iPad keyboard. All the instructions are on this slide, so don't worry that it's about to disappear, but I'm going to go through those steps with you just now. So I'm going to come out of my slides. And I'm going to first go into my settings. Then we are going to go to general. Again, don't worry, this will seem really quick and potentially a bit overwhelming, but you're going to get all the instructions. I've just seen that Ruth has popped the date for the Chromebook training into the chat, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. So we're going to go to general. You'll then likely have to scroll down until the keyboard option appears. Then we're going to go into keyboards. Now, the first time you do this, Read and Write is not going to appear here, but I've already got mine set up, so that's why it's here. The first thing you'll want to do is go to Add New Keyboard. Read and Write will usually appear within this gap. Again, I've got mine set up, so I can't select it, but that's where it will sit for you. Once you've selected it, we're going to pop into the Read and Write keyboard, and this is the really important part. We need to toggle on Allow Full Access. And what that's saying is, once your children are ready to do some typing input or they want to access some of the reading tools as well, there'll be an option to change from the standard Apple keyboard on the iPad to our inclusive literacy support Read and Write keyboard. So we'll see that in action in a second. So I've toggled on full access. I have enabled the Read and Write keyboard. So now we can start to have a look at some of the supports. And the first aspect of that we're going to have a look at is the Read and Write app. So this is the other component that sits alongside the keyboard. It's our dedicated writing space. Okay, so I'm going to tap into that app just now. And the first thing you'll see is your Read and Write dashboard. You know you're here because it will say Read and Write in the top left-hand corner. Okay, now there's an example of a document that I've already got within Read and Write that I was working on before, but I can also bring in documents in different ways. I can click on New and have a blank new canvas, but before I do that, I just want to show you the import function. When I press on import, we get a few options here. We can either bring text in from our photo library, from our local files, so that's any files that are stored on your iPad, or you can pull them in from connected storage locations. So if you are more Microsoft based day to day, you can pull it from your OneDrive. In my particular day to day, I use Google Drive, so I could pull a file from there, or if anyone does use Dropbox, you can pull it from there. Now, the first way I'm going to show you is I'm going to pull something from a photo library. It's not going to be the focus text we'll use, but I just want to show you it in action. So I'm going to click on photo library and I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to pull in, this is a document here about the importance of animals to in ancient Egypt. So I'm going to tap on that. It's going to scan that file. It asks me to create a name. So maybe I want to type ancient Egypt. You can see just now my Read and Write keyboard has loaded, but we'll come on to that in a little second. I can click save and it is going to pull in the text from that particular document that was in my photo reel. So being able to take a photo from being inaccessible, just a picture of text, scan it in, so now I could start to play about with the text in this document. Okay, so very, very useful feature to be able to import. I'm just going to click back and go to my main dashboard again. It's automatically saved here and it is ready for me to return to whenever I need it. So that's the import option. Again, I pulled that from a photo library, but I could just as easily have pulled it from my iPad files or another storage location. But there is a second way that we can pull in text to the Read and Write app, and it's by starting a blank new document with this new button. So right now I've got a nice blank canvas. Now straight away I could start to type and build my piece of work, or I can pull in text using the camera button. So if your children bypass the import step on the dashboard and they've opened up a new page and they say, oh, well, I'm trying to pull in text, I've saved a screenshot in my camera reel, they can still get the text from here. What they can do is pop up to the camera button and you've got those similar options again. We can scan from camera, which is an extra kind of feature here. That would be an excellent option if you maybe had a printed worksheet and you wanted to pull it into Read and Write and make it accessible for your learners. You could scan it using the iPad camera. We could scan it from photo, which is what I just did when I showed you the ancient Egypt text, or I can scan from file. There are two extra options to insert from your camera or your library. Those ones are literally just inserting a photo. So maybe a child in your class wants to insert a picture of another piece of work they've done, and then they want to type about it within the Read and Write app. That's a good option there. But I'm going to scan from file this time. And I'm going to pull in, I've got a PDF here all about rivers. I'm going to pull that in. I want to extract the text from it. So it's going to scan it and pull in any text and put it in here for me. So again, this time I was able to take a file, a PDF file, and pull it in, strip away that formatting and leave me with the text that I can now manipulate. So I'm going to tap into the document, and you see for me, my Read and Write keyboard loads automatically, but I want to show you the steps to ensure that you and your learners can activate the keyboard. Over here at this little world icon, if I press and hold that, that is going to show you your keyboard options. Now, when you first load the Read and Write app, you will normally see this. This will be the keyboard your children are accustomed to seeing. This is the standard Apple keyboard. But if you have followed the steps of enabling the Read and Write keyboard in your settings, when you press and hold this world, Read and Write should always appear as an option. If it's not appearing for you, that means it's not been toggled on in the settings like I showed earlier on. But once it's in that options menu, I can just go up to Read and Write and activate it. Now, before I go into any of the inclusive tools, one of the key things I often get asked is, how do you turn on the Open Dyslexic font and get your highlighted vowels? So I'll show you how to do that, because quite a lot of the children do opt for these options. Open Dyslexic font, aside from obviously being specifically designed for dyslexic learners, for most of us, you will find it helps us to navigate the keyboard more quickly, and even for children in your class who aren't dyslexic, it should make their typing a bit quicker, a bit more efficient in most cases. So it's worth having a wee look at how to turn that on. I'm going to go up to the 3 dots in the top right hand corner of my Read and Write app. And I'm going to open Settings. Now I'm going to go down to Keyboard Settings in this instance. And here is where I can toggle on the features that I do want on. So I want my highlight vowels on, and I want my Open Dyslexic font on. So I've toggled those on, and I can just click Done when I am happy. And that activates my Open Dyslexic font and my vowels. So before I interact with the text again, we know there are some learners in our classes who might struggle with the white background and the black text on top, particularly those children in your class who may already benefit from a physical coloured overlay, or maybe are dyslexic and they need that coloured tint in order to be able to access the text. We can provide that for them on the app. And what we can do is we can go up to the AA. This is the area where you're going to format your text, your background, your font size. If I click on the AA, there's lots of different things I can do here. If I've got text highlighted, I can choose a font from the list, and we do have Open Dyslexic font, which I could select if I had text highlighted. I can change the font size, whether it's bold, underlined. I can change the font color, the spacing, but the key one I want to draw your attention to is the background color. So I've tapped on that wee white box, and here are the options that I have at the moment. We have submitted a wee development request to get more kind of pastel shades, so that is in the works at the moment. I can certainly keep you up to date with that, but I might select, say, this greeny colour just now. A common thing I get asked is, why have we got so many dark colours? That is because you can change the font colour to something lighter. And we know that there's some learners who would prefer to invert the colours and have a darker background with lighter text. So these darker colours are going to allow for that. They would just need to change that font colour to white. Okay, so I'm going to stick with this kind of greeny background just now, this green coloured overlay. And now I am ready to start listening to some of the text. Now, you do have two different versions of text-to-speech. You have text-to-speech on the keyboard, which is going to, remember, the keyboard will follow the child around the device. So if I'm not in the app and there's some text maybe on a web page or in notes, I can use the play button on my keyboard. But because I'm in the app just now, I am just going to show you the play within the app. So I'm going to tap at the start of my sentence and click play.
Rivers usually begin in upland areas, when rain falls on high ground and begins to flow downhill. They always...
And I'm just pressing pause when I am done. Hopefully you could hear that audio through on your side. It was reading aloud with one of our premium voices there, which I'm going to show you how to change in a little minute. But the other thing I'm going to show you how to change is this dual colour highlighting. Right now, these are not the optimal colours, I'm sure you can see, because I've got this green background. The yellow and the cyan isn't working so great for me, so I'm going to change that too. And this customization has been added because we know that dual colour highlighting is very beneficial for children when it comes to reducing cognitive overload, allowing them to more accurately track text as it's being read aloud. But if it's not the right colour combination from them, they're not going to get maximum impact. So we're going to go into the settings and look at changing the voice and changing the dual colour highlighting. So again, any customizations, we can go up to our three dots into our settings. And the first part, we're going to look at changing the voice. I'm going to go into language and voice. Now here I've got English set up as my language, and I have chosen Jamie, which is the newest premium voice. It's the most realistic sounding English voice that we have set up. We do have some others here in this list. The enhanced ones are that wee bit improved compared to the other ones. So you can have a bit of a play about and find the voice that is right for you. Popping back out to settings. Oh, sorry. I can also change the speed here. Now I was quite happy with that speed. Up here it is rather quick, so I do tend to have it around this sort of speed here, but again it's a bit of trial and error, isn't it? Finding the speed that's right for you. To change the dual colour highlighting, I'm going to open speech settings. And here there's loads of different things I can customise, but I'm going to focus here on my text colour and my background colour. Right now I've got cyan text and yellow background colour, but I'm gonna switch those up because those weren't particularly great for me. I'm going to make the background colour something that's going to stand out against the green coloured overlay. I'm going to maybe go for magenta. And when I go back out this time, I'm going to go into the text colour, and I think something like yellow or white would work quite well with the magenta. So I'm going to go for white. You'll see that you've selected one when there's a blue tick on the side. So just a recap of the three things I've changed there. I have shown you how to change the voice and the speed, and we've also had a wee look at how we can change this dual colour highlighting, or synchronised highlight as it's called within the app. Now when I click done, the next time I press play, we should see those changes implemented. So I'm going to go back to the same bit of text and we should see my changes now.
Rivers usually begin in upland areas, when rain falls on high ground and begins to flow downhill. They always
Okay, so to me that is much better. That is a much better combination of colours to allow me personally to see that text. The one other thing you can change, I'm not going to change and show you the impact here, but I'll just quickly draw your attention to it while I'm on the speech settings. You can change how the words are highlighted. So right now I've got it set up for the word trail. I quite like that as it reads out the words, you can see what has already been read. But if you'd like to just highlight the word that's been read aloud, you can change it to that. Or it can highlight the whole sentence, or indeed, if you don't want any highlight, you can select none. So you can actually change what is highlighted as well as the way it looks. Okay, we have heard some of the text aloud using our text-to-speech. We've got it to the right highlight, we've got the voice that works for us, but just because we've heard the text aloud doesn't mean we necessarily understand it all. And we know if a child has a significant reading barrier, we know that having to send them to a paper dictionary is not always going to be an accessible, inclusive next step for them. So we do have our dictionaries built into Read&Write, which I can show you just now. So if I, for example, now as long as your cursor is on a word, or you've either highlighted a word, then it will understand that is the word you're looking to explore. To find my dictionary, I'm going to go down to my Read&Write keyboard. And these three dots on the keyboard, when you tap it, are going to expand and give you some extra features, including our dictionary. Now, right now, I've made sure that my cursor is at the word meander. I'm quite happy that that's where it is. Then I'm going to press dictionary. Now, what that's going to give us here is if there is a picture representation in our built-in picture dictionary, it will show it. which is fantastic for children where English is an additional language. It will help to embed vocabulary that bit quicker. It helps those children where accessing a definition might still be a wee bit much and they need that visual support. We know that we process visuals at a much faster rate than we do written text. That's why we've all got our visual timetables, our now, then and next boards, because we know that visuals often help to embed that vocabulary that bit quicker. But to access the definitions, we can either read it ourselves independently, or we can press the play button on the keyboard and listen to it aloud.
Meander, noun, a nameless amble on a winding course. Noun, a bend or curve, as in a stream or river.
Press and stop when I have heard the meaning, and again I can see what it's referring to. Now, what I love about the dictionary is the minute I see another word, like perhaps a road, that I'm not sure of, I don't need to come back out. All I need to do is be tapping on that word, a road. Sorry, I think I'm on rock just now. Yep, I'm on a road and it's going to automatically update. It's got the picture representation and I can listen to the meaning.
Erode, verb, remove soil or rock. Rain eroded the terraces.
Okay, so I can be clicking through the text at any words I'm not sure of, and I'm accessing those meanings and picture representations with more independence and confidence. I'm not having to always ask an adult to come over and help me, and it's just empowering the child to try and develop their confidence with new and tricky words without always having to ask for adult support. Ultimately, building independence is what we're aiming for, isn't it? So to return to the keyboard, this looks like a backwards arrow with the keyboard. We can return to a Read&Write keyboard. So that is our dictionary option. Built into the keyboard too, we also have our translation option. Now, at the moment, it is just one word translation. However, we have passed on the feedback to our developers that we're looking for more robust translation, maybe sentences at a time. At the moment though, at least we do have it built in and it's one word translation at the moment. But before I even touch this tool, we want to ensure we've got the correct language set up that we want to translate to. So first, I'm going to open the settings cog on the keyboard. And I'm in the play section. There's a section for reading and there's a section for writing. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where it says translation language. And right now I've got it set up to Romanian, but there is a range of languages in that list there. Quite an extensive range. I'm going to stick with Romanian just now. And now when I tap on perhaps, I'm just tapping anyone here just now, we might want to click on translation here. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me the English word I can listen to.
Objects, objects.
And then listen to the Romanian.
Obiecte, obiecte, obiecte.
As many times as I need to. And then if I click on a different word,
Rivers.
Râuri, râuri.
I can hear the translation. So again, if you've got a child in your class who where English is the target language, they can be tapping through and listening to the translation. Okay, returning to the keyboard, that is our key reading tools covered at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the writing tools. Actually, one wee bonus kind of reading tool before we move on. If I press this export button in the top right hand corner, as well as being able to save this to different storage locations, you can export it as text, you can save it to storage location, you can save it as an audio file. So if you do have learners in your class who maybe do want to revise new information, they're maybe studying for a wee test in class, or they're maybe learning lines for a show, or they're wanting to perform a poem or something and they want to memorise it, they can save this as an audio file. And in that way, we're removing the reading barrier altogether and allowing them to just focus on embedding and taking in the information in a way that's inclusive and accessible for them. So I could save this text as an audio file and I'll call it, I mean, this text is about rivers, so I'll call it rivers. I can save that. And then it asks if you want to view your audio file. which I can do. It's there. I can choose to listen to it.
How are rivers formed? Rivers usually begin in upland areas.
So I know the text is working. And then over here, it will allow you to put it wherever you want it. So I might want to save it to my files. I can email it. I can put it into notes and put it into Drive, Classroom, wherever is best. I'm not going to save it at the moment because my files are already overflowing, but save to files is probably the one I would choose in that situation. So a really inclusive way to allow text to be accessed in a different way. Okay, so that is how you would save and export and save to audio file. But I'm going to come out and create a bit of a blank canvas for me, just to show off these these writing tools. Your audio file is there, which is great. You can quite clearly see that you can access it again. But I'm going to go to new and just give myself a nice blank canvas. And I'm now going to make use of the writing support in the Read&Write keyboard. Again, I'm still in the Read&Write app just now, but I'm going to show you towards the end of the session how these tools will support you even if you're not using our app. So on the keyboard, this purple bar here is going to be really useful for your learners. This is the prediction bar. While it's a prediction bar, to be honest, I think it's a kind of 2-in-1, because while it is trying to predict what your children are trying to say, it does also give them a visual as to the correct spelling of words. So sometimes I think it's almost a bit like a spelling support and a prediction tool, which is why I really like the prediction bar. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine that I'm a child who is confident enough to type the idea I've got in my head. So I'm going to type a title, but I'm just not maybe going to get it quite right. And we're going to first use our check it function, which is our spell check, to correct those mistakes. So I'm going to type, how are rivers formed? Oops, I'm getting even my mistake wrong. So I have typed my sentence. I've maybe just haven't got it quite right. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is expand my toolbar again using the 3 dots. And I'm going to access this tool here, the sort of tick button or the check symbol. That's called Check It. When I tap on that, it is going to scan my document, and anything that's not right is going to bring it into this sort of dialog box down here. The mistakes will be underlined in purple with a red highlight. Okay, and over at the right hand side, you're going to get a list of suggestions. Now, for some kids straight away, you'll be thinking that, God, that's really overwhelming. There's a lot there. And if they do have a reading barrier, how are they going to select with confidence and independence? But what we can do is with my finger, if I long press, so I'm not tapping on an option because that will select it. If I long press, I'm going to hear some audio feedback.
Rivers. Reavers. Rivers. Rovers.
So I can go down all of the lists. Now, hopefully you would see while this says rivers, if we're seeing that apostrophe again, that links in more to the grammar side, but I've heard rivers in the first option. And then if I want to use it, I can tap and it will make the change for me. Then it'll move on to formed. Now, if I long press, now this is how you know that, you know, if your child was just going to go and pick the first one from the list, they were going to get it wrong here. So we want to be encouraging them to long press.
Form.
Nope, not how are rivers form.
Formed.
How are rivers formed? Okay, they can be confident. I've heard it. They can listen to it as many times as they want.
Formed. Formed.
When they're happy, tap to make the change. Read&Write will then do an automatic rescan of the document, and if it's happy, you've made all the changes, it will come up and let you know your spell check is complete. You can click OK and then carry on with whatever else you're doing. But what we'll do now is we'll start to look at the power of the prediction bar. So as long as your children are attempting to type, it will try and support them with getting the correct word with the correct spelling. Okay, so as long as they're attempting it, then they will get the support. So I'm going to capitalize here and I'm going to say I want to talk about small rivers. So I'm going to type small in a way that children may commonly misspell that. Sorry, I'm going to take a wee sip. On the prediction bar, it's going to show us some suggestions here. Now, what's great about the prediction bar is if you've got it toggled on, it is going to show you some picture representations from the picture dictionary. So before we interact with that, I want to show you how to ensure your picture dictionary is enabled, because as default, it's not enabled. So if we go into the three dots, into your settings, this time we're not in the reading tools, we want to pop to the writing tools. And I want to, where it says show images in word prediction, show images, we want that toggled on. Okay, so I can collapse my toolbar now. Now again, I want the audio feedback so I can select the right word. So I'm going to long press.
Small. Small.
Okay, I'm happy. Tap to insert and it will change it for me. And again, I'm going to do rivers. I can see the picture, which is going to help me make my selection.
Rivers.
Long press, I heard rivers, tap to insert. I've done usually, and again, maybe quite a common phonetical error. I can see usually here.
Usually.
Tap to insert. We'll go for a tricky one here, known. That's got it, that's great, long press.
Known.
Again, they don't have to long press, that is important. It's only if they feel they need the audio feedback. That visual might be enough for them to think, well, it's not going to be this one, it's not going to be this one. But if they do want to get a bit more confidence that what they're selecting is right, getting that audio feedback is really helpful. Usually known as streams. And again, I'm going to get streams. It's showing me, so while it's predicting, it's also, I'm seeing the correct spelling in front of me. So I know now that the sort of phonetical error made in the middle, I know how to fix that now. I can tap and make that change. And then what I would be encouraging is to use text to speech again. Listen back to what you've typed. Is it correct? Does it sound okay?
How are rivers formed? Small rivers are usually known as streams. How are rivers?
Or what I could have done is I could use play on the keyboard as well.
Small rivers are usually known as streams.
And that will put it down into the bottom of the keyboard for you. The other tool, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show on the call because my microphone is being used for the call and it will kick me out if I do this, but some of your children might already be used to this type of function where they can press the microphone, it will bring up a box, they can verbally dictate their ideas, and then when they return to the page, it's going to dictate it into the document for them. So if they need to be able to just voice dictate, they can use our talk and type microphone down the bottom. Okay, we do also have the check it function and things up the top, but that I would personally only be drawn to use that if I didn't have my Read and Write keyboard check it. I can't really think of a scenario where we're using the Read and Write app and we wouldn't also be using the keyboard alongside it, but in your own time, please feel free to explore it and maybe you'll find one that you prefer over the other. Absolutely worth exploring as well. So I am actually going to come out of the Read and Write app altogether because what I want to show you now is just to reinforce that even if I'm not in our dedicated app, this keyboard is going to follow you around the device. So if I needed support to read this, I can do
When
this.
magma rises to the surface, it becomes magma.
That's actually meant to say lava. I was using that for another demo. But you're going to get the reading support there, and I'm going to show you getting the writing support as well. So I'm going to go into photos and I'm going to load up this wee cat here, for example. So again, this photo, this sort of app that I'm in, this is just my photo reel. This is not connected to Read and Write whatsoever. But I want to imagine that maybe I've asked the children to describe this little kitten, and I want them to be able to get the supports from Read and Write to be able to do it. So I'm just going to get them to label the photo. Again, don't worry about following this part. This is not really anything to do with Read and Write. This is me just wanting to add text. I'm going to move this up here. And now when I'm ready to type, I'm going to get the support. So maybe I'm going to go for orange, but again, I've misspelled it up the top. So maybe I'm going to say the orange kitten. Okay, so in that way, the prediction bar is going to step in. I can be doing something completely different out with the Read and Write app, and I'm going to get the same supports from Read and Write when I'm doing something like labeling a photo. Okay, so this keyboard is going to, anywhere where there's typing or reading input needed, this keyboard will be there to support your learners. Okay, so popping back to my slides just now, I just want to draw your attention to some resources to help you get started, essentially. So the first thing we've got here is our Using Read and Write at Home guide. So that can be shared with families, parents and carers. It will show them how to download the device, sorry, not a device, download the software at home on their chosen device and platform. The important part though will be if the children in your class try to sign in with a personal email address, it will recognise that they don't have a paid licence and they won't get access. But if they do use their Renfrewshire credentials, which I believe is the renfrewshire.school, or again, Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, re.glow.scot, I might be wrong there, but as long as they are using those credentials, they can get access to the re.glow.scot. Yep. They can get access for free. So it's important they have to use their Renfrewshire account because that is where their licence is registered to. I hope that makes sense. But that guide, it's also worth you as a teacher having a look at that just to see how that works for parents and carers. You will get a copy of the recording today, but we do also have another on-demand iPad webinar from October that you can watch in your own time, delivered by my colleague Richard. Just bear in mind it doesn't have the updated dashboard that we went through today, but it is an extra wee resource that you can go through. This is a big one here. This is our Read and Write for iPad feature focus videos. Now, because I was a teacher in primary before, I wanted to make something that wouldn't add any workload to teachers' plates. I wanted something you could pick up, put on your classroom screen and play for the pupils, and it would teach them how to do it for you, so that all you need to do is worry about the crowd control. So if I open that document just now, and I'm hoping it will load okay so that you can see it. Oh, it's because I'm in a wee text box. I'm hoping if I go into present, it will let me tap on that wee link. There we go. There we are. So this is the document here. And for every tool within Read and Write for iPad, you've got a 1 to 2 minute video. So you can pop that up on your screen and you can, it will basically teach the children. So as long as they're sitting with their iPad, they're in the app, they've got the keyboard set up, it will teach them how to use each individual tool. So if you want to train them by maybe doing one tool at a time, that's a great way to do it. So that is embedded within the slides, and you will get a copy of that. But there's actually a good bit of time for some questions. My email address is up there. I'm going to stop sharing my slides in a second. I've probably fried everyone's brain. Apologies for that. There's so much to get through, but hopefully you've seen the power of this app within the iPad, both the dedicated writing space and the keyboard, and how it can really kind of open up the curriculum to your children who do have barriers when it comes to reading and writing. So I'm going to come back into the call, and I'm going to stop presenting, and hopefully it'll let me come back in here. And if anyone does have a question, I'm going to stop the recording just now and we can have a wee chat. So bear with me, I'm just going to turn that recording off. Thank you so much.